Konnichiwa. Today we're going to talk about two words in Japanese, tame and Nagara, both of which can seem ambiguous. So we're going to look into that ambiguity and see how it can be very easily dealt with. The first is Nagara. This has two meanings that are easily distinguished because they are structurally different. One attaches to verbs, the other form attaches to nouns and adjectives. The most important form is the one that attaches as a helper to verbs. It attaches to the E stem, and it works somewhat like the te form, except that while the te form tends to imply sequential action, one action after another, and causality in some cases, one action because of another, not as strongly as with kara, for example, but indicating some kind of a causal relationship. Nagara indicates simultaneity of action. And this is important because it is really the main way in Japanese to express that the same actor did two actions at the same time. So we can say, Aruki nagara utatta. I sang while walking. Naki nagara ayamatta. She apologized while crying. So that's very simple, isn't it? The other meaning, the one that attaches to nouns and adjectives, and it attaches directly to them, not to any kind of stem. Of course, nouns don't have stems, but it also attaches directly to adjectives, has the meaning despite the fact or even though. And we may note that we can use English while, which is the other meaning of Nagara, in exactly the same way. For example, we can say, while she is pretty, she's not very reliable. So we can say, Kodomo nagara kenmei ni hataraku. Even though a child, he works diligently. Kanojo no kotaba wa kibishii nagara mo atatakai. Her words are strict but kind. And notice that here we use the mo particle after nagara in a way that is often used, which is to stress contrastive expressions. Common collocations of Nagara are ware Nagara. Ware, as you probably know, is an old but still used word for I. And ware Nagara means, even though it's me, I'm still going to say it. So we might say, Shiken wa ware Nagara umaku itta. Even though I say so myself, I did well in the examination. Another very common Nagara collocation is zannen Nagara, which means while it's unfortunate. It can be used ironically, or it can be used in refusing something, or for all kinds of purposes. So we might say, zannen Nagara dekimasen. Unfortunately, I can't do it. Another usage is closer to mama, and we've discussed the meaning of mama in another video. The meaning being the unchanged condition of something. So we might say, Kare wa mukashi nagara no namakemono da. He's as idle as he used to be. In other words, the mukashi, the old state of him, is in its unchanged condition. And we can use this mukashi nagara in more serious contexts like mukashi nagara no omise, a shop that's still in its old-fashioned condition, looking the way it did perhaps 100 years ago. And of course, mukashi is not the only thing you can use with this mama-type Nagara. We can use it in cases where we might have said mama. Now, let's move on to tame. Tame is confusing because it has two meanings that can seem opposite. The primary meaning of tame is sake, in the sense of the reason, the cause, the valuable thing for which we do something. So, for example, kodomo tachi no tame ni hataraku. I work for the sake of the children. Seigi no tame ni tatakau. I fight for the sake of justice. Shiken no tame ni benkyou suru. I study for the sake of the exam. More generally, it can express the intended purpose of anything. So, for example, kodomo ni kikaseru tame no mukashi banashi. Old tales for telling to children. And we might even ask, "Nan no tame ni sonsai shiteru no daro?" For what purpose do I exist? The other main meaning of tame seems almost opposite because it usually signifies the bad result of something. Not something we're in control of, which is usually the case with tame. We're doing something for some purpose. Usually something outside our control, and usually linking it to a bad result. So, for example, Jiko no tame ni shinda. He died because of the accident. Ame no tame ni koen ni ikenai. Because of the rain, we can't go to the park. Now, there's no structural difference here, the way there is with Nagara. The structures are the same, and this sort of thing sometimes worries people, but in practice there is rarely any difficulty in understanding any sentence, even when they are very similar. So, to take a sentence we've used before here, Shiken no tame ni benkyou suru. I study for the sake of the exam. But we might also say, Shiken no tame ni zen asobenai. Because of the exam, I can't have any fun. And you see, these are the two uses. They're structured the same, but there's really no difficulty from context in knowing which of the two is meant, and that's just about always the case. One collocation with tame, which is worth knowing, is nen no tame, and this means just in case, just to make sure. Nen here means mindfulness. So for the sake of mindfulness, for the sake of being sure, let's do this. Let's pack a second pair. Let's check the situation out one more time. Just in case. Nen no tame. If you have any questions about tame or Nagara, please put them in the comments below, and I will answer as usual. I'd like to thank my gold Kokeshi patrons, my producer angels, who make these videos possible, and all my patrons and supporters on Patreon and everywhere. Everyone who watches these videos, who likes, who comments, or just comes to watch them, and especially you for attending this lesson. Thank you for helping all this to take shape. Thank you for helping us to look into the real meaning of everything in Japanese so that we can understand it on an instinctive level and see what it's really doing. Thank you once again. これからもよろしくお願いします。Class dismissed.